Hello, I'm Elgato, and welcome back to another episode of my Minecraft Xbox Updated Adventures Let's Play. This is a Let's Play where I'm playing through the various updates that have come out for Minecraft on the console, building stuff, killing stuff, and of course, destroying stuff. And in today's episode, I wanted to kind of work on the big thing from last week again, because truthfully, I haven't been playing this world much in the past week. Usually the idea of the Let's Play is like, oh yeah, here's me catching up in the Let's Play world, my big survival world I play most of my Minecraft in, but this past week I've been busy with a lot of other things, so I've played maybe half an hour of this world, which means that the big thing still on my mind is the museum, and I wanted to do a bit more of it today, because again, I feel like we're so close to getting this, like, because you know, this was the big ugly project in my world. I look at it and I say, oh, why is this the thing again? But basically, I figured in today's video, I could make it like more bearable and basically complete in a lot of different ways. So that's the kind of goal for today's video. Do a lot of destruction, turn that into some building, have like some defined boundaries, have like the internal walls make sense, have some like ideas for exhibits, and have the, you know, have like a real building here rather than this weird collection of blocks that ends up in the wall in different places all the time. And yeah, I've done all of the groundwork for this. You might have seen some background gameplay in, because if you don't know, I use the Let's Play world most of the time when I'm doing background gameplay. And yeah, I've done some background gameplay where I connected up this to that. Now I just have to make this thing connect, and then I've got myself a back wall, and I've got myself most of what I need for a museum besides the roof. So exciting times in the Let's Play world. Hopefully you'll enjoy this episode. Let's get straight into talking. Or I guess, you know, it's actually fairly simple. Like, we're doing a little destruction first of all. So while we do that, and we get lots of these fun dirt destruction noises, because efficiency 5 shovel, let's talk about what I've been up to this past week. Because I feel like, in general, the shift in the Let's Play world, a lot of people are curious about what's going on here, but it's also kind of nice that like a lot of people are curious, like, so what have you been up to, Toka? And you know, there's something interesting about that, because honestly, it makes me feel really good when people care. Like, I feel like this must be a every human thing. Like, it might just be me, but like when you feel like, oh yeah, what you did was important enough that someone cared about it and someone really wants to know, there's just something kind of cool about that. And it's kind of interesting that I get that from YouTube in a way and from this Let's Play, and that's why it's always nice to talk about it. So again, hoarseness thing. I don't know, it's only in the Let's Plays this happens. I don't know if you've noticed this, but like, it must be like a subconscious conditioning when I say, what have I been up to this week? My throat is like, no, don't tell the people. But what have I been up to this week? I feel like when it comes to like, you know, me talking about my day, one, it makes me feel good, like I said. Really cool thing. Maybe that's like a pro tip for life. Like, if you want to, you know, like impress someone, you want them to like you, just make them feel like they're important. Or maybe that's just for like, there's like an ego thing. I don't know for certain. But yeah, basically, this past week, because, you know, most of my weeks vary from being like, oh yeah, I went to a place this week and it was crazy. Or like, oh yeah, I played lots of games and made lots of videos, so I could go to a place in 2 weeks. And although I did make a lot of videos this week, because I am going to Germany this weekend, and also hopefully, I've been planning a trip to Singapore. I don't know like how to make that. Again, it's like a lot of steps, but like, because one of my weird YouTube passions is like watching airline videos and stuff. I've like worked out how to like get status with one of the airlines for like relatively cheap, but although it's like still expensive, but like it's like a year and a half worth of like every flight is like free upgrade. Basically, I've been like working like, you know, like not hacks for airlines, but like the cheapest, the most efficient ways to do stuff. So I've been planning like this weird trip just to get like all the points I need to get like a year worth, like loads of random free stuff basically. Again, that sounds confusing if you don't follow airlines, so I'll just say I've been planning a trip, and I've also been making a lot of videos. But this week I've been playing a lot of other video games. I mentioned how I haven't been really playing this world in the past week, because usually I play a lot of Minecraft. Like, Minecraft's a really good relaxed play podcast. Minecraft's a really good, like, just I relax in general. Like, it's a very relaxing game. I love what I've been doing in the background right now. Like, there's something feel good about all of this. Like, I'm doing a thing while really I'm just like having fun throwing my shovel at blocks. So yeah, basically well, I've been playing a lot of PUBG this past week, though. You probably saw a lot of live streams. But also switching over to Fortnite recently. So, again, as of me recording this, I've actually just flown back from Germany. But as far as, like, what was I saying? As far as, like, the games we've been playing, I've been playing a lot of, like, PUBG and also a bit of Fortnite. I really like that there's, like, this genre of game I've just found, basically. Because the Battle Royale, like, oh yeah, everyone versus everyone thing, there's just something about it which just makes you want to play again and again and again. And I feel like I'll be playing a lot of these, and a part of me's even being like, you know what? I could make a pretty cool video about, like, gun stats and that. So it's something where I've been, you know, like, I've been at least playing around with the idea, and, like, it could turn into more videos, but at the very least, it's just, like, something I've been loving. And it's been, like, my chill, relax in the evening game. Although it's not really relaxing, but it's, like, you know, I spend a lot of my days, like, looking forward to, like, oh, yeah, at some point later today, I'm going to be playing that kind of thing. And whether that's good or not, I don't know. Like, a part of me worries, like, what if it does mean I have less passion for the Minecraft videos I make? But I don't think it is that way. I think you can, like, care about multiple games at once, but because you know, on my channel, it's so weird. Like, even though I play lots of other games, I try to play them like, you know, just in the evening, just for a little bit, and then I get bored after like a few weeks. But this one right here is just like, it's like almost life consuming, and it's kind of great to be in that, because that's where I am with Minecraft after like a big update sometimes, where I'm just like, I need to try out this new thing. Like, let's get an enchantment table, let's get this, then that, and yeah, it's just kind of interesting that that's how that happens. So yeah, with that said, what have I been up to this past week? Played a lot of games, been planning a trip, and made a lot of videos, because again, I feel like this is something that's not directly obvious to everyone, but I have to, like, you know, make more videos in a day than I upload, and I upload like 14 videos a week, or 12 videos a week, or whatever it is. So I make a lot of videos every day, and there's a part of that that's like actually kind of like, again, I don't ever say like, oh, it's the hardest job in the world, but there's a part of me like always trying to make, you know, better videos, so that, you know, I want to always express things that are interesting to people and that people want to see and stuff, while also trying to make a lot of them. There's this interesting balance that happens in it that I'm always balancing, and that sometimes doesn't go too well. This week, like on Wednesday this week, I just had one of those days where it's like I can't, like, I physically just cannot, like, do this in a way I'll be happy with at the end. So I just kind of didn't. And, you know, whether that's good or not, you can make your own argument for. But it was something that I did. So let's take all this dirt, by the way, and let's just put it in a chest. I'm not sure if I'm even picking it up. I'm not. So we'll take this, we'll put this in a chest, and then we'll come back and do some more. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to this past week. Played a lot of PUBG-like games, the Battle Royale genre. Again, the fact that one just came out and like only just as I got into PUBG is kind of fascinating. And again, I'm hoping the genre like has a big thing, because as far as YouTube presence goes, or streaming presence, it's like such a watchable stream game for the same reason it's playable, and I like that. I found something that, you know, could go somewhere, and there's nice about that, because again, I always want to be making the I always want to be focusing on Minecraft console. I feel like there's just no one out there that does it, like, so it's like, you know, I'll be the guy. Because, you know, there's no one out there that does it to a standard I would watch, I would say. Which is arrogant to say, I know, whatever. But I'm just trying to say, that's why I make Minecraft console videos. Most people kind of just try to treat, like, the console version of any game. Like PUBG, for instance. Like, there's not going to be any PUBG console guys. And it's going to be like, well, I guess, you know, hopefully, you know, for anyone out there that wants to play it, but only has an Xbox One, you know, like, I can help the people out like that. So, again, there's lots of thoughts going on there. But let's talk about other things I've been thinking about this week. Because the Let's Play isn't just, like, me talking about what I've been up to. Because that's kind of like a vloggy style thing. But it's just where I talk about what I've been, you know, like, I guess, thinking for the past. I don't know, like, there's a lot of things I think about when I'm just like on a bus or on a train. I'm like, I wonder why this, that. Maybe it's just my brain thinking too much, or maybe these are thoughts you care about. But yeah, basically I was thinking about YouTube and the decline of YouTube. Not like the decline of YouTube as the website, like the decline of like YouTubers in the September period, because I feel like no matter how much like I say, like, you know, my channel, I don't aim at, I'm one of the only Minecraft channels that doesn't dumb themselves down so they can try and get more of a kid audience. Which, I mean, actually, it's probably a terrible business decision. Like, I wonder how much money I've thrown away by being like, you know what, I'm frosted us a lot on YouTube, and, you know, if I'd have just done that, like, again, I saw YouTubers that, like, changed that way, and it works out for them and stuff, because that's, again, it's something you can do on YouTube, it's a thing you can do, but it's never something I cared about, because it's just like, you know what, I'll make videos I want to watch, and hopefully people want to do the same. But basically, you know, this is something where, you know, I never did the whole thing, but in spite of that, I'm assuming a lot of people who go to school in some form or another, whether it's, you know, like, most people are in school till they're like up to 18, so there's always like a dip in September where everyone's like, oh god, I didn't expect that people would go to school in September, what? And, you know, like, there's a lot of like a big YouTube decline, but it does actually affect me too. It was like there was one day, in fact, it didn't really make sense. It was like a Thursday where just suddenly everything cut in half, and again, it's not too concerning, like, I'll be fine. Thank you very much for any concern that people do have about that sort of thing. But the reason I mention it is because it's this sort of thing where it makes you realize every time that, like, you know what, sometimes YouTube can go downhill, and it's all outside your control, right? Like, it clearly, if it dropped by half, it's not that people went back to school on a Thursday, it's that, like, you know, algorithms changed to, like, take account for the fact that, like, people watch less videos, or, you know, something like that. And whenever it comes to that sort of thing, it brings up this same old question I always have in my head of, like, the YouTube and whether you can trust YouTube to deliver the videos you want to watch. Because the thing about YouTube is, so again, this sounds like it's conspiracy theory, this is like widely known stuff. Basically, when YouTube recommends stuff, and when YouTube you know, YouTube's getting more and more forcey recommendations, right? Like, if you go to your homepage, if you want to see videos from your subscriptions, you have to go through like a lot of hoops, at least on the desktop now. Like, oh yeah, you open that menu and then your subscriptions are there, because they want you to watch the videos they want you to watch. And the reason for that is not like some sinister thing. It's just like, oh yeah, we know you watch more videos if we recommend them. But the problem is like, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. And for the longest time, I thought to myself, you know what, it's fine. This probably benefits me. Probably people watch me by accident more than like they don't watch me by accident or whatever. But it's something I do think about recently, where it's just like, you know, I don't think I'm okay with doing this myself. Like, I think it's, you know, if YouTube wants to recommend to people, that's fine. If that's how you want to do things, that is. But one of the things I've been doing a lot is like kind of taking control with playlists. So I ignored playlists for the longest time on my channel. Like, I did them way back in the day, but then they kind of lost their relevance. But I'm starting to like focus a bit more on playlists. So I'm gonna put some playlists out there for various things. If you want to take control of what you're watching and you don't want to just go like aimlessly from video to video, I'd recommend playlists. So like when I'm watching, I watch like a lot of like videos where people are talking about like really weird deep subjects, like but like, if you want to go for one of those, and like actually have a progression in there, I find a playlist is a pretty handy thing. So yeah, playlists on YouTube, I think they're one of the ways to take back control now. Like, again, for the longest time I was trying to work out like, how can I take back control? You know, besides just watching my subscriptions, but then how do I discover new things? I feel like the whole like, oh yeah, someone will put together a good playlist, hopefully, kind of thing is a good thing. So yeah, I feel like playlists are going to come back on YouTube in a really big way, because otherwise, you know, there's only two people that can pick what you watch. You can pick what you watch, or YouTube can pick what you watch. You're going to pick what you watch based on, you know, things you're pretty sure you like. YouTube's going to pick what you watch just based on what will keep you on YouTube the longest. Not what will, you know, be best for you, or what, you know, will make you happiest at the end. It's just like, oh yeah, we would like it if you were watching for the longest you can, because that's how we're successful as a business. And again, there's just a part of me that's like really uncomfortable with the idea of like, oh yeah, so that's just how things will be. Again, I don't like that, and that's why the playlist thing's been in my head. But besides the playlist thing, this past week, I was thinking about the story of this missing boy, because it happened 10 years ago now. Like, I think it was 2007. It's one of those things where, like, as the anniversary comes up, it gets spoken about a lot. Because in the... Is this Fortune? Oh, it is Fortune. I'm just going to get non-stop Flynn. Exciting. But basically, it's like the 10-year anniversary was of, like, some boy going missing in London. So, let me tell you the story, and then let me tell you, like, my thoughts on it. Because a guy went missing in, he went missing in like Yorkshire somewhere. I think it was like Doncaster. It's fun. The UK has funny place names, I know. But in like, I believe Doncaster, he just like, he went one day to school, except then he went home as soon as his parents were gone, went, like, changed his clothes, took a lot of money out of the bank, like all his money, I think, or like £200. Then he got a one-way ticket to London, and then he was never seen again. And, like, you know, to this day, 10 years later. And when you think about that, as you probably... I mean, I think about that. I think it's interesting. You know, the immediate reaction is like, oh, yeah, well, he's dead, right? Like, 10 years later, no reaction. He's 100% gone. But I think about this, and I'm like, you know, it's so certain to me that he just wanted to start a new life in some way. Like, the fact that he's 14 maybe makes it so that he'd be caught, and it's impressive he didn't. But, like, you know, if you buy a one-way ticket somewhere... Because, you know, there's three... Okay, I guess I should say, for fairness' sake, there's three possibilities, right? The one is that, like, someone kidnapped him, because guess what? Everyone wants to take a teenage boy. The other is that, like, you know, he uses it as an opportunity to just, you know, suicide somewhere. And the third is that he wanted to start a new life. I don't know how he would start a new life like that, but, you know, it's a possibility at the very least. So, anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is because, although one of those possibilities is way more obvious for everyone else, I feel like the fact that he went and clearly just wanted to vanish is quite obvious. Because think about, how would you vanish if you wanted to in your life right now? I think there's only really one correct answer, and that answer is like, well, I guess I would go somewhere far away. I'd find, like, you know, I'd take everything I had. Maybe £200 isn't enough, but, like, you know, you go far away, you find someone who will look after you, and then you just kind of vanish, right? And that's kind of my thinking exactly. That's why I believe, at the very least, that kind of happened. And it's just one of those things where it's like, why else would you buy a one-way ticket? Why else would this, that? Because I feel like everyone's always so quick to jump to the, like, someone's been kidnapped theory, but, like, how often do kidnappings really happen? Like, this might be one of those things where, like, because I've never been kidnapped, I don't think it really happens, but it's also a part of me that just goes, you know, I feel like there's an instinctive part of people's brains that you can never quite turn off. Like, instinctively, if, again, like, the instinct of, like, oh yeah, that thing's probably dead, or, like, this is that. I feel like fighting the instinct is probably a good thing if you want to have rational thoughts. Like, again, it's like, it's instinctive for you to just keep eating. Like, when you have a... And this is the problem I describe all the time. I know it's like it's not even like a first world problem. It's just like a, I guess it is maybe first world problem, but you know, the whole idea of like, oh yeah, so you're eating a pizza, but it's a 12-slice pizza, and you only want to eat 7 slices, but you'll just keep on eating slices because that's just how human brains work. And again, that's like a really minor example of like, you know what, your instinct isn't a good thing, but I think it is like, as we go forwards, we have this like, this, you know, or let's not say evolutionaries, but like, we have this instinct that we've learned over all these years, right? Like, oh yeah, the way that you avoid, the way that you avoid like, the way you avoid being like killed by a saber-tooth tiger is your fear, is your instinct, is like, you know, there's like all these things that have been trained into us, and I feel like, again, it might seem like irrelevant to like the story of like, so this guy went missing, and that's a story about how you should ignore your instincts. But no, I really think it is. Like, again, it's obvious to me that he at least tried to go missing. You know, maybe maybe the person who he went missing with killed him or something, and that's why he was never found. But clearly it's just like, you know, when you hear the family story of like, oh yeah, he'd always want to come home, it's like, well, that's what you think. But any guy who would want to leave their family isn't going to know that they wouldn't want to come home, because they you know, inherently don't care about it. But anyway, with that said, let's place all our wood here. I think we're going to need more wood, because I only realized we like only have 1 stack of this. We'll place that all along here at the very least. So just like enough to hide it so we can see from the back. Yep, looks good to me. And then we can place the rest of the cobblestone and the birch planks, and we'll have ourselves a pretty much complete back wall. I realize, like, not 100% complete, but that's not the important bit. The important bit is that we have like an inside and an outside. That's how you define a building. Like, it separates inside from outside, and we're going to make sure that's how this building is defined too. So, yeah, basically, trusting instinct's an important thing, but also not really. Like, a lot of business people say like, oh yeah, I invested my gut, or like, you know, I feel it in my heart. But like, you know what, if you feel it in your heart, that's a really terrible reason to do something. Like, you know, like, I feel like you need to feel something in your heart for like, no, I guess love and this and that. But there's a lot of things where like, that's not kind of how that works. Anyway, with that said, I just wanted to kind of raise that as a little thing. Like, but it also made me think, because one of the reasons, sorry, there's motion at my front door. But one of the reasons that's interesting to me, at least, that one of the reasons I don't believe that anyone could really be kidnapped just randomly on, you know, they're just having a random day in London and then they get kidnapped, you know, 1 in 1,000 chance or something, it's because I've never been kidnapped personally. I've never seen anyone be kidnapped, and realistically you don't hear about it very often. And I know this is like, it's like a survivor bias or something, but I also don't believe that people get mugged very often. I had to accept a lot of cash this week. Don't ask me why, but I had like, let's say 3 digits in cash. Well, I mean, actually it was 4 digits, I think. But lots of cash, let's say. Like, an absurd amount of money. More than you ever see in real life. More than I've ever seen in real life. Again, like, long story. Let's just, you know, pretend I was doing a drug deal. Like, I'm that kind of guy. I just sell drugs in London. But basically, my point being is, like, you know, like, if I handled a lot of money recently. And like, the person who handed it to me was like, you know, I'm so scared, like, someone could take it at any moment and then it's just gone. And it's kind of interesting because, like, how often are you mugged anyway, right? Like, how often does that actually happen? Not ever for me. I've never been actually mugged, I don't think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've never been mugged. I've seen people very nearby mug me, and I've seen, oh, not mug me, like, mug people. And I've heard of friends who, like, had their phone stolen. But, like, realistically, I've never, like, seen it happen. And I think I do a good job of getting away. I have this, like, in my head, at least, again, I don't know how it would actually go, because it's never happened, and maybe it never happens to anyone ever, but in my head, it's just like, you know what you do? Assuming it's not a group of people that surround you, you run, because I feel like you can run faster than them, and if they catch up with you, what are they going to do? Are they going to chase you? They're probably not, because you can just run in the direction of, like, let's say a police station, you know, a crowd or something. I feel like, you know, reacting to mugging, unless they've got, like, a gun, which, again, if you're in America, ignore my advice, I know, like, half of you are, everything changes when you introduce guns to the mix. But in the UK, people don't have guns. You can get guns, but like it's really, really tricky. You know, legally or illegally. Like if you want legal guns, you have to like go for a bunch of licenses. If you want illegal guns, and you have to own land and like you have to do a bunch of stuff. And if you want illegal guns, I know you can buy them on the internet, but whatever. Anyway, my point being, going way off track with this one, is the fact that like, you know, if I get mugged, which I'm gonna come back to this Let's Play with the story of like my first ever time being mugged, because a part of me is still so sure, like, you know, because I like my phone a lot, I paid cash for this, no, I paid cash for my old phone, which got replaced with this one, because insurance or whatever, but, you know, let's just essentially say, I paid cash, I paid money for this, well, not cash, you know, I don't actually walk around with lots of money in cash, I don't ever have cash, actually, but anyway, my point being is, you know, I paid real money for this thing, And I would rather not give it up unless there's like some genuine risk to my safety. And I feel like a guy with a knife is not a risk to your safety. Like my brother said something interesting where it's like, you know, if someone like, or I made a joke and he said actually it would probably work, is like if someone tries to mug you, all you have to do is say, oh yeah, come to the cash point with me, I can give you some more money, then lead them to a police station. And like, that seems like a terrible idea, and it wouldn't work in theory, in practice, but you could get them really close because, you know, I said like, you know, if there's someone who mugs, they probably know where the police station is. But then my brother said, well, it's actually probably their first time. Like, how many people are mugging, like, repeatedly? That's not really a sustainable thing, is it? I don't think it is. There aren't many repeat muggers, I don't imagine. So you're probably the first guy they mugged. They don't know how this really works, and they're probably not like so into it that they're willing to kill you over it. Like, most people are mugging just because, like, you know, they need something like drugs, money, whatever. And my point being with all that, again, it sounds like a really off the beaten track thing, is that if someone comes after you to take your money and you think they're gonna hurt you for it, most of the time they won't. Again, with guns, you can accidentally hurt someone and kill them. So let's, like, this advice is terrible if you are in America. But if they just threaten you with, like, words, I'm not going to give my money up for someone with words. If they have, like, because I've actually heard one of my friends got mugged, well, this was like, so 15, 16, they had a rounder's bat. If you don't know, so I guess a rounder's bat is like, I don't think rounders is an American sport, so, or it probably is just British, but basically like a baseball bat, you know, like, you know how those are kind of hard. Imagine like a really small version of that, like half the size. You can Google it if you want. They got mugged because someone had one of those, and it's like, you know, did you really need to give up your phone because of that? Or like, you know, how much money it was. And I guess then that comes down to the whole idea of like, well, I mean, the stuff was less important than me. But then there's also got to be a thing of like, you know, if there's zero chance you're going to be hurt, no one's going to be like, well, you didn't give me the money that I just asked for, so I'm going to do that whole thing. In fact, actually, there was this funny thing of like, so there was a bunch of students in my year that used to go around and try to mug people, especially when there was like a fair. A fair is like, everyone knows a fair, an amusement fair thing in town, because everyone would have money to go to the thing, and they'd like ambush people in the woods outside it and be like, oh yeah, you got any money? And then they'd say no. So they had to invent this like strategy where they'd be like, well, he says he has no money, but they're the 9th people today that swear they don't have money, so jump up and down, and then it would jingle. And it's like, it's funny because I guess like, I wonder if most muggings are like this, where they're like half committing to the idea of like, oh yeah, you got any money to give me? No. Well, I haven't actually planned for this response. I figured you'd be scared enough to just give it to me, so that's the thing. In fact, what they actually did, what they said, again, I'm just recounting like mugging stories at this point. I don't know why, but let's keep going with it, because oh, let's make a door for this place like halfway between here and there, which is probably about here actually. But basically, yeah, so what they actually say is just like, oh, you gotta give me something. You gotta give me something before you leave. It's like, well, if I don't have something, I can't actually give you a thing. And because they don't know, you know, like, that muggers aren't psychic. They don't know everything you got on you. You can give them either your phone or your wallet, and they'll probably be happy enough with that. So don't give them everything, unless they've got a gun. If they, again, I'm going to clarify, this is terrible advice if you live in America. People can accidentally kill you just because, like, oh no, I panicked, and now that, just watch out. Watch out is my point. But yeah, with all of that said, I just thought that was kind of like a funny little story that relates actually, because it's the same thing with like aggressive homeless people, right? So I feel like this is like such a jerk opinion to have. Like, you can never say this because people will just be like, oh, well, you know, you'll be less fortunate one day, and like, you know, people will just be like, you know, say that you're being a jerk for this, and maybe I am, maybe you can hate me for this if you really want to. But the truth is that like when people come up to you and ask money on the street, or if you see someone, yeah, when people ask you for money on the street, if they just like have a sign up, that's something different. That's like you being a good person. But if someone just like asks you for money on the street and you're like, oh yeah, sure, let me give you some, because you know they come up with some sad story about why they need it. It could be a true sad story. I'm not saying they don't need it, whatever. What I'm saying is like what they're actually doing is they're selling you sadness and you're buying it. You're like, if you weren't going to give money to someone anyway, if you weren't like looking for people to give money to, or you weren't like looking for homeless people or whatever, instead you're just like, they come up to you, you feel awkward, so you give them their money. Really, what's just happened is they've sold you sadness and you've bought it. Because, you know, like, I guess they give you sadness whether you buy it or not. But it's the weirdest thing to me that, like, this is just an accepted thing. And because everyone does it, like, everyone feels awkward enough they'll just give these people money, it's like an increasing thing. Like, you're increasing the market. Like, essentially what you're doing is you're saying, wow, your only product you're selling me is sadness, and I'll buy a lot of that. I'll keep buying that as long as you're selling it. And in fact, I'm going to buy it so much, and these people are going to make so much money, that people will realize that it's a good idea for everyone to do. And now charities do it, but not even like real charities where you can feel good about yourself. Charities where it's like, oh yeah, 50% goes to the guy who sells you the charity. Anyway, my point being is the world is a weird place. You don't have to tell people, like, okay, so people can take your physical things, but they can't take your knowledge, and you can use that so you don't have to lose your physical things. That's an important thing. And also, if you live in America, just ignore everything I said today. Just like chill. I get it. You gotta watch out there. Different story, different place, different like inner city experience. I get it. But in terms of like London, never been mugged, and I'm pretty sure I really want to come back. Like maybe if I'm wrong, I'll come back and be like, you know, I was horribly off. I see why people give up their stuff. But I really do think, unless you're being like genuinely life-threatened by a guy who looks crazy, because crazy people, that's when you call a full bets, then I think you should not watch out so much. But anyway, let me know what you think. Comments down below. As always, it's just what I've been thinking about a lot this week, like the whole like going missing thing, the being mugged thing, lots of different things just running through my mind. Let me know what you think about all of them. Comments down below. Like it if you liked it. Share if you really liked it. Subscribe when you're around here. The build, by the way, is pretty much finished now. I have to work on a roof that can accommodate the dinosaur coming out of it. But still, pretty good stuff in all. Hope you all enjoyed this episode, because I'll see you all in the next one.